Look, 100%, I feel really alone in that, you know, and it hurts. That's all right. Like, it hurts. And that's why I've never spoken to anyone. Because, I feel like if I speak to people about this, it's a long story, number one, so you have to have someone that's willing to sit and wait, because there's so much context that's missing. And not a lot of people have been down these paths in life or felt these, not felt these kinds of feelings. I think probably have felt the feelings, but especially from this angle. So I just don't talk. I just never talked about it. Tell you, I've never talked to anyone about this in depth ever. Nowhere near. I've never talked to people about leadership college, what it was about.
Just so wrapped up in this year of...
Well, I give people the condensed version because I think it's probably the version they want anyways. Well, they probably maybe they want more, but, remember, we're living in that Western society. People want the high-level stuff. What's that thing called Finimize, where it sums up all the books and shit? Yeah, that's what people want.
Yeah.
They don't want or at least maybe I'm not willing to give it. The funny thing is, after that all happened, one of the things that encouraged, because I was really depressed, fucking hated my life with a passion, right? At one point. One of the things that encouraged me so much is that one day, I'll be able to use this for good. And I think that thought is just freaking so powerful. Yeah. It's just and that carries me through, because I'm I know I'm feeling every day or every moment of every day, it feels like daggers are striking me in my stomach. I'm broken here, but I know that this is going to be great for people. So I'd repeat my story to myself. This is what happened, and this is how I got over it, and this is how I moved forward, and this is how... And that would be part of my anxious thoughts, but pretty positive anxious thought.
Okay. It has been a while since we had one of these intros, but because I've been experimenting with all sorts of stuff. But this episode was pretty special, and I felt impelled to come on and do this one because that snippet, I mean, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You clicked on the title for whatever reason and you watched that 2.5 minute snippet from deep into the pod towards the back end. And you probably won't have noticed, but that's the first time in these interviews, any of these interviews, that I think my tear ducts have welled up a little bit. Yeah, Zav said it, I think in that, and then certainly to me afterwards, that this was the first time he's ever shared, let alone public to the internet, but ever shared with anyone the ins and outs, the details of this chapter of his life and this story. So, yeah, beyond just being a huge honor for me in the realm of this podcast and whatnot, as a friend, and it's pretty. I don't know how to verbalize whatever that is, but I'm sure you can get the picture. Now, in saying that, the start of this podcast was more or less two white guys with a podcast. And I don't want to lose people in what was about 40 minutes of us being spiritual chat and, answers and Jesus and God. And it was good fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was there. But if at any point in this first 40 minutes or so, you're like, ugh, I want to skip over, just please skip to the chapter marker. I think I titled it Bible College and Youth Leadership. It should be 44-ish, 45 minutes in. Just skip ahead to that and then give it another crack from this. Because, yeah, pretty epic stuff. Otherwise, that's all from me. I'll get it out of your face. Thank you, Zav. Thank you, anyone who listens to this. Enjoy. Yeah. Good way to start.
Here we are.
Here we go, Zav.
Back at it.
Part 2. If anyone doesn't know you well, probably start with episode 1 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Xavier, Cachia. I don't know how much we're going to go over again naturally and updates and whatnot. But you just meditated for about 10-15 minutes before this. You mentioned meditation a lot just in the last 36 hours or so.
Yeah.
Currently a big part of your life. What's it giving to you?
think what meditation is helping me do is create just a really healthy relationship with not only like my own thoughts, but like the world around me. And I mean, that starts with the internal. So it just like, it's interesting how like you can just create so much space within yourself. I mean, just then what I was thinking, like I was just meditating, and like in my meditation, so many thoughts were coming in the whole time. But like the good thing about meditation is it's about your relationship with the flow of thoughts, not controlling the flow. So I was just letting the flow go, just thinking, okay, come back to focus. Because the idea is with that type of meditation, it's mindfulness meditation, it's coming back to some constant and then focusing on that and then letting it flow and then coming back and then letting it flow. Because you're going to think about something. Like because if you control it, then you're just freaking trying to grab and you're so tense. And so it's about relaxing and then, yeah, just building that relationship. And it's so healthy because there are times in my life where life gets really tense or like I'm feeling tense. But meditation helps me it's okay, that's just flow. Just let that go.
To accept that internal chaos.
Yeah, to accept the internal chaos. And like, because often you'd be like, oh, it's the external things. But like you realize, no, this is internal. This is just some incessant chatter that's going on. Just random chat. Could be about anything, you know? And often it's to do with, I guess, the more anxious kinds of thoughts, but there's also the positive thoughts. Like your brain just ticks on random shit. I don't know, especially mine. I was like, if I would describe myself as a tap, I'd be gushing it sometimes, you know? But it's just good to just remember to come back and enjoy the gush. Otherwise, you know, you're trying to control. But it's just good to like that. And I think I was just thinking before about what's the importance of that. What's the importance of letting it flow? I think the idea is like, you want control ultimately is because you want things to pan out for you or in the way that you envision. And that will give you the peace that you need, right? That's what you're searching for. But in reality, if you just let go of control, which seems counterintuitive because how the crop's going to survive when the rain's not there, when the flow's not there? How's it all going to work out? But if you just let go, naturally you then follow the flow of life, or whether it's your thoughts or whatever it is, and then you find the peace that you're looking for because you're relaxed. You know, your body's like not tensioned, so it's good.
It is strange, isn't it? Because I think we all, I won't speak for all of us.
Yeah.
It sounds like majority of us go through life and we can logicize all we like and know this isn't the case and there is no such destination. I get this, I do that, I have that. And suddenly I'm in nirvana, I have peace. Yet our actions and our relationship with, as you say, the thoughts in our mind and the external world, we're acting as if, like, under that belief.
Like under the belief that you've got to find ultimate peace?
Exactly. So you chase this or you chase that. And inherent in that chase is, well, there's a destination, or otherwise why would I be doing this journey that I'm not enjoying or whatever, or I'm not finding peace in.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, coming to the realization, not just that there is no such destination, but then actually acting upon that. Saying, well, all there is here and now, so I might as well enjoy that and let go. It's I mean, the Christians talk about it all the time, right? Just give over all your problems and all your thing to Jesus. He's got it.
Yeah.
And then and that's why they're all so buzzed and, high on life, is because they're not worrying about and having those anxieties.
Yeah.
At least that's how I've perceived them.
Yeah.
Because it's all on him, right?
Yeah.
And the kind of modern, whatever you call them, hippie people, postmodern hippies, I don't know, seem to have a similar thing of it's all fate and it's, manifestation and whatnot. Have you seen links? Because I know last ep, a fair few people who have listened to that, a lot of them said, oh, I wish you'd kept on digging into the Christian journey. And I think we kind of skimmed over it a bit.
Yeah.
Have you found this meditation being part of your life? What are the similarities? What are the key differences between you as Zav as a Christian and Zav as a non-Christian but a meditator?
Yeah, really good question. I think it's important to give this a bit of context, especially where I'm at now, which is so recent. Like, this is 2 weeks ago. So I had a really rough... the last 3 months have been really difficult. Like, as in, work has been extremely, like, draining or tough. And I've been working really big hours and, probably not getting the outlets that I need naturally. This all leads into the point. And so what I've kind of burnt myself out again. And burnt myself out to the point where I just felt like a giant vacuum has sucked all the life out of me. Like, I was just like I feel like a ball of shit on the inside. And the only time I ever felt that, well, I felt it for a long time, but the only time I started feeling that was when I was back at church, right? And there was all these things going on. And at that time, when I was younger, I thought it was just clearly this relationship I have with God is not healthy. Look at what it's done to me. Look at who I am. Like, the people that I'm connecting with, and the relationships that I have, the person that I am, I've completely changed. I don't know who I am, because that can happen in the Christian journey, or can happen in the religious journey, especially for a young, naive person. You just give over everything, and not just in that spiritual sense, but literally every corner of you. And you probably channel yourself into like a pastor, or you channel yourself into what you think Jesus is, or so you've completely morphed your own identity, and that was me. And then there was a couple of things that happened at the time. I was really burnt out. It was a bit of a toxic relationship, so emotionally I was burnt out. Spiritually I was gone, and then physically I was also doing like 7 days a week, 14 days, whatever. So I was really fucked, right, at that time.
So you're saying that, presuming that every individual has unique qualities and characteristics and strengths and weaknesses, but then it's almost like a prescribed, let's say, be like Jesus, and that forces you to like go against nature in some parts. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so I want to really bring this together, because the original question is, how does meditation now and Christianity form together? And it's just where I'm at. So this is good. So, okay, that's that burnout, right? And then recently I've experienced this burnout again. And originally I blamed spirituality for a large portion of that burnout, right? And I was like, it's like this relationship with God was so spiritually burning me out. And I think it was the way in which I did it. But now looking back, I'm like, well, I'm feeling like that now, and I'm not going spiritually crazy. Like, I'm not freaking doing any voodoo hippie weird stuff.
You're not going all in on the church, you're going all in on the business.
But I went all in on the business, and quite clearly I look back and I was like, it was my nature go as like hypoglycemic. Like, I went too hard on the run. Like, I went too hard in this business zone, and then I went probably too hard on spirituality, but mostly just the way in which I did it. And it was way too hard into the relationship, and way too hard into working and doing all that kind of stuff. So now I came to this point, or this conclusion about 2 weeks ago, like, I've lost this beautiful faith or spirituality that I've had, and I blame that on something external, which was quite clearly my own internal fault.
So your unwillingness to kind of be humble and recognize your own limitations of how much energy and how much of yourself you can put into something meant that you had to walk away from Christianity, let's say.
It was my spiritual block.
Yeah.
Like, it's the thing that crushed my faith, which is so fascinating to me.
Do you think that, or is it a fair assumption to say that if only you were going all in, and all in might be 90% of your essence, if only you'd gone 98 or 100%, then you would have had so much faith that God, let's say, could have healed you from going all in almost? Because isn't that the whole thing, that they take on your problems?
No, of course. But the way in which I went, like...
Or the business could have been, if only you go even further into it and you make even more money and you give more value to people, then all your other problems are fixed because of it.
I mean, the issue is that
That's kind of the
faith can be
idea, right?
quite complex. And there's multiple facets of what I believed was the person of God, right? So the God that I fell in love with was not the God that I continued for, like, that I got to know towards the end of my relationship, right? And I say relationship because, like, that's how I view God. So at the start, it was all about love, encouragement, all the things that resonate with me as a person.
Can we break that? Can we just? I know you're trying to wrap it up into a big thing for the present, but
Yeah.
and I think this is maybe what happened last episode, where we kind of use these as a block to then explain the present.
Yeah,
But can we
yeah.
actually look at that past? When you got into the church, when you started feeling what those things that you just described, and you started falling in love with God, what did that look like? What did that feel like? How was that?
Great question. So when I was like starting out Christianity, I'm a bit of a skeptic by nature. So I'm like, look,
How old are you?
17. I'm like, look, God, if you're real, you show me. I'm not gonna figure you out. You're gonna help me figure you out. That's how this works, right? That was my terms. So what I'd do is I'd read the Bible every day for 30 minutes in the morning. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. Or like, not figure this out, sorry. I'm going to
allow the opportunity for God.
You to speak. And the way that I did
Let's
that
take God
was...
on a date and see if they impress me.
Yeah. So I'd do my speed dating in the morning, right? And then there'd be like a verse that I wouldn't get it. I'd be like, what do you mean by salt and light the earth? It makes no sense. This is ridiculous. I'm a Parker. Show me. Speak to me, right? Otherwise, rubbish.
What was that phrase? Is this one you're going to use?
Salt and light. Oh, that's just a verse that I remember. That's one that I actually love, and I don't think I ever questioned. But there was multiple. I don't remember the three, but there were three.
Cool.
Right? So there was the first one. I was like, show me. And within a week, I got the answer. I was like, oh, that's what this means.
Something someone said, or a perspective of someone.
Just something happened. Then I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Wild.
I like it. Read.
No.
Next week.
No.
This is weird. What's like narrow gate or whatever it would have been, right? It was the New Testament. It would narrow, like, how does this make any sense? And then a week later, answered, oh, I get it. So the way that I started my relationship with God, even though really it started at the church technically I went to see a preacher preach. And what freaked me out was he was preaching about God and money, which was like, what? Like, God can help you be abundant and then you can bless other people. Like, I thought you meant to just be some poor person. This kind of actually makes logical sense. Because in my mind, ever since I was growing up, God was completely illogical and made zero sense. Right? So then something made somewhat sense, and that's why I started reading and getting involved. And then when I started believing in God was that reading the Bible, and then having things answered.
Were you
Just naturally.
Were you believing in God or the Bible? And what was because this is something that confuses me. The Bible's quite clearly written by humans, but that's the word of God. Like, what's the setup there? Or what was this? Like, how was your understanding of that as that skeptical 17-year-old?
So, in my mind, what I did was I read most of the red writing, right? So what that means is, a lot of the times, in a Bible, the red writing is what was spoken by Jesus, right? So for me, that's, at the time, or if you believe certain ways, that's God reincarnate, or it's a great prophet, or whatever. But this guy's someone I want to read. So I read
highlights.
that.
Yeah.
Read those. And including whatever was in that zone. And yeah, like some people, and this is the thing about faith being so multifaceted, and it's the way that you have your perspective. So many people believe so many different things about the Bible. Some people believe it is just some scripture, ancient scripture, that's really philosophical. Some people believe it's incredibly judgmental. Some people believe it's a book of love. Some believe that it's the divine words of God spoken through humanity. that's all people's perspectives. And for me, what I've realised is that we're all probably wrong. Probably. Because at the end of the day, the human condition is to not know and to find out. It's not to know and to, like, it's just the human condition. So
To know and to move on because you've figured that out and what's next.
well, it's just to learn. That's like, otherwise why? Like, we're made to not know. Or we're made to get to know. Right?
Okay.
Or even if we're made or we're evolved or
Well, you'd
whatever you
think
want to call
that
it.
if some creature, some entity knew anything, let alone everything, I mean, that is almost by definition God, is it not? So the fact that, yes, we're biologically monkeys close to it, but then quite clearly have this high level ability to get to know and potentially even know. That's why, I mean, I personally say define human condition as divine monkeys, like monkeys with a sprinkle of divinity. We're not gods, but we're somewhere between, you know, God and monkey.
And it's very interrelated with the Christian belief as well, or some Christian belief. But I just want to get back to this to know thing quickly, because what I was going to say is that we're made to know, which most likely means we don't know. I think that's really important, because there's so many things to know. How could you possibly know? You don't. And this God, per se, is described as this person or thing or entity that knows all. Well, quite clearly, you're never going to know this because you can't know all. So you're distanced, or you're never going to know it fully.
And there's also, you see this in even like the human realm, you can know something to be true, like an equation in physics. But then if you zoom out or zoom in further, turns out that was, yes, it was right, but it wasn't as right as this thing.
Yeah.
So this equation, you know, sums it up, but it doesn't take into account like the atomic level.
Yeah.
And then you have to actually get even more complicated to get an even better answer, because that was like an approximation of the answer.
Yeah,
you can keep on going. So it's like,
So this really ties into my current understanding of spirituality, because I think that's called perspective theory. I'm not quite sure, but it makes so much sense to me that we're a human on a human level, so we're going to understand and perceive things on our level. So what does that mean? So as you were just saying before, the equation is a very human, like it's like written, it's this big on a piece of paper, like it makes so much sense. Once you start going really big level, like country or universe, or the mind just gets blown, because we're not meant to think like that. We're not built like that.
our brains are not evolved to operate on those scales.
We're nowhere near. The only thing that I could potentially see operating on some kind of a scale is potentially like artificial intelligence, which is collective humanity brain. Incredible thinking, but it thinks on that scale. And I don't want to get into that because that's stuff tech for now. But like, let's go down the other way, and then we go down into this niche, and you can't think on the level of an ant, or you can't stay there. You might have done it as a kid for like 20 seconds and like you're squishing ants and whatever, and like you're on that level. But
Or you might
don't live there.
You might have like, what are they called? Nang? You might
A nang?
have a nang, and then you're suddenly like, you know, insect brain.
Yeah, you go to that small, but we're on this level or this plane. So what I see is like God externally is all things at all levels. So how could you possibly know God externally, right? It doesn't make any sense. But you kind of feel that. But God internally makes so much more sense because it's on your level. That level of spirituality within is something so much more easily knowable, right? Because it's our level.
So your own
and it's
interaction
internal.
with...
Your own interaction. I think everything is touched potentially. This is potentially what I think. Everything at every level it could be touched by that divine nature, you know, that invisible nature, just like freaking gravity. Like you can't see it, but it's there. Not sure how that is formed, but anyways, like, but the easily knowable for us is ourself or something that's external that looks like us, aka like Jesus, you know,
So
who carry a certain spirit.
I like that gravity thing, and at risk of getting too lost in kind of spiritual talk, gravity's a great one. It affects everything, but it's probably our responsibility to try to understand the best way we can how gravity affects us. And look at other people, look at other animals. But then gravity completely shifts when you talk about what's happening on Mars or something. And
on that different perspective, on that, it's like it's crazy,
And then you sort of space and time, you're like, whoa, it's still gravity.
Yeah.
But then you're talking about like time travel shit and like the planes of dimension. And
Let's go to a black hole. Like all science at our level breaks down at black holes, and it also breaks down at infinitesimally small. Like
and the Big Bang and
it's what we think we know breaks down at different levels, and I think that's super fascinating.
Okay, so you as a 17-year-old, let's wire it back.
Yeah.
Are starting to come to these kind of understandings.
Well, no, this is
Okay.
current Zav.
Cool.
I think, especially after the fallout with the church or the fallout with my spirituality personally, it humbled me in the sense that I realized I didn't know what I thought I knew. Zav pre that knows God. Like, I know God, right?
And what is that? Yeah.
And that's, I believe in this external God that I know personally, that speaks to me, right? And that, like, I had a complete picture, or what I thought was a complete picture.
What was
at
that
time.
complete picture?
Well, it's that God is the Father, Jesus the Son, and there's the Holy Spirit. Like, it was a very religious picture, right? And that, you can't really connect with God the Father, but it's through the Spirit you can. And you had that Spirit because Jesus died on the cross for you. And if you believed in Jesus, right, or you believed that he was the Son of God in that perspective of faith, then you had the Spirit. And because you had the Spirit, you could talk directly through God. And the Spirit is the interceder.
So would you say, therefore, that
Yeah.
sin is a blocker of feeling the Holy Spirit? So it relies on you believing that Jesus died for your sins, therefore the sins are on him, and you can now have access to the Holy Spirit, which is a conduit to access to God.
Correct. So the idea is that, yes, sin is the block between humanity and God, right? Which the more I grow, the more I don't think it is, which is actually fascinating.
On God.
Super fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Because, and I've actually just realised this now, but I've always thought the original story of the apple's so important. Like, the apple is the knowledge of good and evil. And it's funny, as I'm speaking now, it's knowledge which actually separates us from God, that ability to know. Because I can't know God because he's on this level and this level. I can't know him in his entirety, right? That's my separation. And it's interesting how that is the original sin, that to know.
That's interesting because
yeah.
animals quite clearly operate in such a... They are nature. We see ourselves distanced from nature. We're not part of nature, but you see a stingray moving through, a jellyfish, and you're like, well, that just is nature, right? So it almost is just God, and it's quite clearly a resemblance of that. Yet that story is that Adam and Eve in that garden, as far as I perceive it, they are animalistic. They are running around naked. They're not really thinking. They're not sinning. They're kind of animals. Therefore, they're God's children, and it's only by
that knowledge that you separate yourself not only from, we separate from, I guess, God in that sense, which is nature, and that's super fascinating. But at the end of the day, look, so that's the sin, and my old perspective was that it was just a sin. Don't know why, don't know how, but sin, right? Oh, because God said don't do it. Anyways, and then from there, it's there's a separation, and as you said, conduit. You need to believe in Jesus.
So, do you think that the revelation that, wow, this God dude is showing me these answers and giving me these signs, he must be powerful, I'm therefore willing to suspend belief on things like what is a sin, and that skeptic version of me, I'm willing to shut that down a bit out of respect almost for this great power?
I think there's levels of realization with things. So, like, I think I've gone to, I guess, the next level per se on this. I don't know what I don't know. But before that, I also believed it, and I always was of the belief that I'm happy to not, like, if there is a God, let's say there is, then some of my current modern beliefs, even though best version of humanity, all that bullshit, right? Some of my modern beliefs are quite clearly bad. Like
So-
something, I don't know. What I think is good is not what is universally good. Because if God, in my mind back then, if God is true, there must be a universal good, right? That's what I thought. So let's say I don't believe something's good, like gay marriage. I'm fine with gay marriage. Like it doesn't really freak me out, right? But if God says it's bad, it must be, right? And I'm humble enough to realize that my thoughts are probably not as high as his thoughts. So it's okay for me to be like, I'm okay with it. But at the end of the day, if he says no, he's probably right.
Okay.
That's how.
So it's really about being a good son. Like,
Correct.
I
And that's
don't-
how I saw myself.
yeah.
Yep, just listen. Like, you need to, and the whole sex thing, like, I'm a young guy, like, I love women. Like, it's just true, right? But, which it actually doesn't. But anyways, interesting. God says, abstain, then I will. Because that's what's good. That's the source of goodness, not me.
Dad, like, you have faith that my dad, my God, like, has my best interest, doesn't necessarily have the time or energy or whatnot to explain every little detail. I remember being a kid, especially a teenager, and being like, why?
I'm the same. Like, give me reason. But I felt like God gave me enough reason, And every time that I questioned something, within time, it will be answered. And that was how my faith was built. That if I just listened to that subtle voice on the inside, if I really, like, if I'm aware to the signs, and it's about listening, not saying, like, if you listen, the God will speak in his time, in the right time. And it's often you, yourself, that's blocking the things coming through. And you don't know it.
So I've heard that being a good son, that makes a lot of sense. I've also heard a thing of, you're a boy, and then to become kind of the man you're supposed to be, you have to kill your father. And ideally, that's metaphorical, right?
Yeah.
But in a sense, that to take on the responsibility of your own life, your own destiny, and especially to build that up to the fact that then you can be a father yourself, well, you can't have, this thing on top of you anymore.
Interesting.
Then that seems like a very tough burden to bear, and I'm just piecing this together for the first time, the kind of burden that a lot of modern men seem to be struggling with, that it's quite clear you don't want your dad to be telling you what to do and how to live your life, especially if he's not giving you good reasons to do so. When you're yourself 30, 40, 50 years old, have your own kids, have your own life, and you're like, shit, get out of here, you old man, right? But back in the day when most people were religious, they might have replaced their physical father, who is just as limited as anyone, with a godly father. And that makes a lot of sense to carry that through the whole time, and it kind of releases the burden of, I don't need to know everything, I can still perform in the right way.
Of course.
Nowadays, if you're a-religious, or non-religious is probably the term, wow, I'm leading not just my own life, but the lives of women, children, community, whatever. And I'm having to figure this all out myself, and I know how limited I am. Is that potentially leading individuals and society at large astray?
I don't think so. I get what you're saying. I think there's just different storylines as to how you lead and live your life, of course. But and this is the one thing I do like about the Bible. It speaks about lots of different characters and their relationship with God and how they progress and how they change. That, to me, sounds a lot like the story of Jacob, right? So Jacob, I think, let's just go straight to the hip displacement. So Jacob is known as the man that wrestled with God, right? He had like disbelief, or I think it was disbelief, or he wanted to wrestle with God because he was proving himself as the man, and then
He's trying to kill his father.
he's trying to kill his father, but he can't. But God, interestingly in this story, admires his wrestle and then touches his hip and displaces it, right? Interesting. And then he's like, you've kind of fought well. I'm naming my children Israel. Your name is now Israel, and I'm naming Israel after you. And Jacob is one of the lineage that gives birth to all of Israel. Right? Wild story, right? But what it shows is that this struggle against God is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a human thing, you know?
If you weren't to struggle, you kind of wouldn't have a spine and therefore probably aren't.
Well, it's Jacob's story,
Okay.
right? And some people resonate with Jacob's story. And I think that what you were saying does resonate with that. But then there's Abraham's story.
Who was willing to sacrifice.
He's willing to sacrifice everything. He just had faith. And he was known as he was Abraham, and then he was Abraham because he was the man that had faith in God.
Oh, he was Abraham, wasn't he?
Abraham, yeah. And then his faith, right, allows him to have descendants as numerous as the stars and land, you know, that God was going to bless him with and all that kind of stuff. So, and this is what I wanted to just make sure that we're doing here, is that there's different storylines for different people, but a lot of them can be similar based on like characteristics, I think.
It's fascinating to me as someone who didn't grow up in this Christian Bible study world, whatever. But increasingly has a lot of interest in it. Even just the intellectual idea that our whole current society and structure and worldviews and legal systems and ethic codes are based on this one bloody book and religion, and how... And it's easy to lose sight of that because we live in such a world that's addicted to the present moment. But, man, whenever I think of zoom out, I'm like, well, this Christian... I gotta pay attention to this thing. Even if it's just becoming like a more cultured member of this society, right? Like, it's fascinating that something has led this book to evolve and these stories and whatnot. Yes, it was written by a human hand, but something's been coursing through these people to have it just so impactful and so long-lasting and evergreen content almost, and not just evergreen across periods of time, but across locations. You know, tribal
Cultures,
people can be picked up by it, let alone, and the top of billionaires can be picked up by it, and different personality types as well. It's not just men; it's women as well. It's not young; it's old. Like, believe it or not, man, I really don't know where I sit with that at all. What I do believe wholeheartedly is that this thing is like somehow rewired and rewired human source code to a certain extent, like the human psyche.
Definitely does, and it's interesting seeing some of those. Like, I've seen that rewritten, like people rewritten in front of me. Like, I've seen, like, you are like a drug addict. I know you are. And you're just not anymore. What the fuck? Like, what happened to you? And that's not just in Christianity. That's in multiple religions. But quite clearly, there's a very important aspect of spirituality, whatever you call that changes people.
Kind of feels like, if this might be a terrible analogy, but it just came to my head. If I'm playing a video game, and I'm playing the game, and by playing the game long enough and having other friends play it, we start to write the code that would make the game. And it's like, and then 2,000 years later, someone picks up that code and sees the game, and it's like, well, that was obviously by the game designers, or was it by the players inside that? Like, it's like, what the hell? Like, who?
Or maybe it's like co-written.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite clearly what it is. It's co-written, you know. And what I think the Bible is now, current perspective, is that it's God through the lens of humanity.
Not through the ant, not through Mars gravity.
No, it's just through the lens of humanity. So it's not a complete picture. I don't think it is. And that's a tough thing for me to say, because that holds a lot of weight. But I think it's a picture, or multiple pictures, right? At different times, for different people.
And do you think it's God through the lens of humanity specifically 2,000 years ago or whenever it was? So that's why there's a few weird things about it?
Well, I think it's the same God.
Same God, but like it's different humanity, right?
Yeah, well, it's through the lens of humanity. Like, the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are simply just accounts. They are accounts. That's what they are, right? And it's a king at one time believed they were holy, put them in a book. Like, it is, in my mind, just the account of God, or the account of the touch of God, right? Or the essence within Jesus, or however you say that, right? From humanity's perspective.
Super cool. Now, I don't know if it's just the bias of modern times. Like, every everyone in history has thought their time to be very important and big stakes because that's the only time they're living in personally. Thought experiment. If the Bible gets wiped from the world currently, no one remembers it, no one knows it, there's no copies. It would seem, therefore, that sooner or later, an equivalent kind of thing would come about.
Yeah.
You agree?
Oh, couldn't agree more. Yeah. That spirit is on the... It's
right.
pushing its
What
way
would
through.
that, if it were created in this current setup, this version of humanity, what would that look like?
Well, I just don't think
I'm not expecting an answer.
Yeah, I don't think it gets created in Western culture. You need... I think in Psalms, it says that you need... Be still and know that I'm God. Interesting that I said no and you can't know, right? But I think in stillness, that's when you can feel that flow of the spirit within, which I believe is true. I think everyone has like a part of the divine nature in them, right? That stillness is so hard to find here.
In Western society.
In Western society, I totally believe it. I believe that we're not still as people. We're, again, and that's a block to God, right? Or a block to getting to know the God within, at least. I think you're finding that in like the Himalayas, you know? Or like you're finding it in these tribes where I believe, which it currently is, where there's lots of spirituality there, where people are still look at the stars, where people do have the ability to engage, you know, with the spirit within.
I might have said this last time, but if I hadn't, I'm glad I had the opportunity now. I lived briefly in Dahab in Egypt, which is 2 hours away from Mount Sinai. A pretty crucial spot in the biblical stories. It's 10 Commandments, right? The burning bush. And I remember distinctly having basically fasted, I think at this point for maybe 24 hours. All we were doing was free dive. Free diving deep, it takes it out of you. It's like internally, your organs and your systems have probably run half a marathon. Yeah, musculature-wise, you haven't done much. So it's very odd. You feel very fatigued. And living in the desert, living cheap, living simple, sleeping a lot, dreaming, writing my dreams. It was really cool. I was lucid dreaming a bit.
Cool.
And I remember distinctly one day, it was an off day, and I went into I very fasted, so very sensitive and still in my body, and started walking up into the mountains. And it's kind of this just like constant up and down hill, all sandy and rocky. There's nothing that survives. And you go over the first one and suddenly you can't see the coast and you can't see any population anymore. And you're just in it. And it just goes for hundreds of Ks. And unlike previous experiences of being on psychedelics in jungle, and it's just like this crazy God thing, and like nature's like so beautiful, and rivers and waterfalls, and then like you'll have, I remember seeing like these like 40 flies were impaled on this vine, and I was like, oh, the dark and the light of this like feminine jungle God thing. And then here it was so still, so nothingness, and suddenly internally I started almost inventing a guy in the sky. I was like, no shit, these books got written here in the desert, because in the jungle God is so in your face that you just have to like worship and surrender to that. Well, here God is nowhere to be found, so you have to like pull that out of your innards.
Yeah, well, lots of these books, especially in the Old Testament, were written by the suppressed population, which is the Jewish people at the time. Yeah, they were so oppressed by the Egyptians. It was ridiculous.
It's unobvious that God is here, but yet humans have this yearning to some sense of spirituality, so you kind of have to look and find them deep.
Yeah, so I just don't think that's going to happen on the beautiful beaches of
Northern Sydney. So interesting, man. And like, that was, I feel like we kept that relatively down to earth. Now, what I wanted to ask you as well is, when you were running off that religious fervor, I've never actually asked you full in depth, like about, I know you had this leadership course that you mentioned, this coffee van business. So what was that?
Yeah, so I did I finished school, you know, get my ATAR, and I was like, I don't even care about this. I want to go straight to Bible college. That's what it's called.
Do you have to become a pastor or something?
I mean, you're definitely not en route,
Okay.
but it's...
What is that? Is that like a university?
It was through the church that I was in, backed by a university. So the university like had the course, and then I would just like, it's like I was doing the university course online, but I'd do it in a class at church.
Okay.
Cool setup. So like, let's say we both did a university course and we went to, you know, Jill's house and we all studied together for this online university
That sounds
course.
fun.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Incredible, beautiful time. I mean,
And it is an official uni course, kind of.
yeah, I got my diploma. Well, it was actually called a diploma of leadership. So I did my diploma of leadership, and the idea
It's
was
very Bible Christian centric.
super Christian-centric leadership college, and all of the leadership principles were backed by the Bible, or like surrounding Christian faith and values, right?
And this is 1 year.
1 year.
Do you have practicals? Like,
Oh, everything's practical. Like most of the time is non-practical.
so you're
was
not
like
reading
10%.
textbooks about like leadership in the
No.
church?
Well, I had a book, Developing a Leader Within You by John C. Maxwell. At the time, you know how you got like certain books and like at the time was mind-blowing, and now it's like, whoa, yeah. That book, mind-blowing at the time. I'm like, oh my God, this is speaking to like my, you know, my depths of my soul. Incredible. I loved it. Taught me about leadership, which I didn't even know was something that I resonated with. You know, I was still
Really?
18. I was young as.
Okay.
And like, I had people, someone say like, oh, Zav, you know, like you're such a good leader or bringing together people, all that kind of stuff. Never thought anything of it. Like I was like, I just think I'm good at maths here at school. You know, like that's just, you know. So I did this leadership college, just trying to get to know God more. That's what I wanted to do. Surrender more, right? And yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's funny because I've blocked this out a lot.
Yeah, because I've never heard any detail of this.
No.
You mentioned like, oh, I'm a good leader because of this thing, but like,
You know, I've never really
Even
told
the uni
anyone.
setup, like-
I've never told anyone.
that's a whole world. Like, I would say a normal Australian. I feel like most of us who aren't Christians, like, have no fucking idea what that looks like. Like,
Yeah.
what is this life? I mean, at uni, for context, at uni, there's the one group on campus. It's this very small campus, so the one like active group is a
Yeah.
Bible studies group. So I've been going along because I'm like, why not? This is curious. It's weird, man. Right?
Yeah, there's kooky humans. That was one of the hardest things about me going to church, not gonna lie. There's some really kooky cats. And like, I'm not the most straight edge human in the world. Like, I do some weird shit too, right? This was friggin' weird.
I mean, I'm sitting there and, again, like
Oh, man.
I really don't think I'm going to get probably ever convinced into being a full like Christian dude. I just don't think that's going to, I can't see that on the cards. But I am very curious and very interested in, as I say, just the impact of this thing and this belief system and ideas set up. And the people as well. It's even just fun, like sitting in a room of, I'll say it with the like, I'm usually a judgmental prick, but this is like judgmental in like a positive way almost. Like it's like, I love weird humans and these are some of the weirdest.
Like some of the things that put me off church, like, because like the people at church, just like,
Put it this, I mean,
like I remember we were getting out of COVID, and like I just don't like debates. Like I'm just, especially that's a bit of a Christian value as well, because I think there's parts of scripture that talk about like, why get angry with your brother or sister over this debate? Just let it go. Like it's not important. It's just, you know, like you don't even, there's a scripture talking about like, why are you looking at the plank in their eye with a plank in your own? You know, and what that says is like, just, you're kind of an idiot. Like just chill out. That's how
we're all idiots.
we're all idiots. Like just don't point. So like in the middle of a debate, I'm like, what are we doing? Like just chill. And some people, especially in the church, love a debate. I remember this one girl comes up to me, and it's like just after COVID, because I was still flirting with the idea of Christianity. I was like being torn apart by it inside. And she's like, oh, like COVID or like the vaccine is quite clearly the government's are spying on you. And I'm like, I blanked her straight in the eyes. I'm like, I don't want to, I do not believe you one bit, but I'm not going to engage in this conversation because don't want to like waste time on this. Like, let's not argue.
That's a surefire way to get into an
She
argument.
got so pissed. She's like, how can you not know this? No. We need to sit down for 20 minutes. I'm like,
The only way out is to like bite your own tongue and be like, totally agree.
no, but then I just didn't want to engage. Yeah, you're right. So I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, yep. Okay, great point. Anyways,
This is
where were
But
we?
you've
Why
already
did that
shown your
talk?
cards, so for the next 20 minutes you can't.
I cooked it so bad.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so we're talking about like leadership college.
Yes.
Cool.
Because you then went to commerce in Melbourne, so you know what normal people are doing. How is it different, and how is it the same?
So I get into commerce at Melbourne. We're on our European trip as a family after school.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the ATAR I wanted. So I was like, I'm not getting into commerce at Melbourne. There's no chance, right? It's like, and I got into, like, Bible college is 0 ATAR. I'm like, hell yeah. Right. And I get a notification on my phone while I'm on my trip overseas that, like, congratulations, you're into the University of Melbourne. I'm like, yeah. Didn't care. Because there was a part of me that cared so much. I tried so hard at school, but I didn't even care anymore. I'm going to Bible college. I don't want to do this. This is shit. It's commerce. Like, and my mum and dad are like, oh my God.
You kids out there,
This
it is shit.
This is amazing. Like, you're changing, my dad keeps saying, you're changing the destination of this family tree for the rest of your life. Because none of my family have ever finished a degree.
Really?
A bachelor. No. My mum, both of my mum's parents are poor people that came from Lebanon, right? I've never had a dollar to their name, really, struggling for stuff. My dad's parents also the same. They worked every overtime shift they could at Caterpillar, doing very hard labour, all of that. So my dad, and he didn't even complete his own accounting degree. He just saw someone that sold him an insurance policy. He's like, yep, love that. Let's do that. Became just a salesman, right? And he's like just an absolute grinder, so he's really good at it. It's perfect for him. So none of my family's ever done a degree, and in their mind, going to Melbourne University, commerce, I am like the poster boy for the whole, Lebanese and Maltese community. Like, this guy's done it. Like, we are Western and we are just going to be so rich and whatever. And I'm here getting this thing. So we're going out to dinner celebrating, and I'm just like, don't even give a shit. Like, I'm going to Bible college. So I'm going to Bible college now.
And is there a bit of, I don't even have to feel guilty about disappointing my parents, because, like, not being so into it, because I'm really making the big parent,
Oh, yeah.
guy in the sky, really proud. So
The parents, there's a point in my faith where I got to where parents are just bodies that gave birth to me. Right?
Really?
Yeah, I got very spiritual. These are just the bodies that gave birth to me. That's my
bodies.
I can't believe that's immortalized in the pot. But that's my father, and you are just physical representations of my spiritual relationship. So, I mean, I love you, of course. I mean, I love everyone, but your love is a lot higher than that. I mean, it's one of the 10 commandments to, I think it's love and respect your father and your mother, something along those lines, or honor your mother and father.
As bodies.
As bodies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think there's a parable of Jesus not a parable, a story of Jesus, and he essentially says, like, you can reject your family, like, don't reject him.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you got to do.
You see that all the time in, like, people get super religious, people get into a cult. Wow, okay. Cool. So
I want to take us back to that point where I was stripping away parts of me unhealthily. That was one part I think I stripped that hurt. Then I didn't realize it hurt because I was so, like, in love. Like, love goggles like you'd never imagine, because these love goggles is like, there's love goggles when they're with someone you can quite clearly see it's unhealthy. This is like, oh my God.
They don't even have an opportunity to, because the thing is, you get love goggles for a girl and, like, it can be whatever. But then they're always going to, like, say something annoying or not do something you wanted, and then, like, you're still blind to that. But but God doesn't have the opportunity to do bad things, really, like, if you're so into it.
But logically, or at least, like, what I thought was logic, is that this is a love higher than any other kind of love. it had such an incredible hold or space in me that was just ridiculous.
Even if they do bad things, well, that's actually good for
Good, everything's good.
Yeah.
Everything's
And
good.
you're just taking eggs out of every
And that's
single
logical,
basket you've
you
ever
know?
put them in and chucking them.
But yeah, like you could be blind in love with someone and someone can kind of speak a bit of logic to you. You can be receptive to that. I was receptive to nothing. Nothing. People will be like, you're being a bit like super spiritual. I'll be like, no. You're a fucking idiot.
Okay, so Bible college.
So Bible college, yeah, so I'm getting into that now. We come back from our trip, and I'm just going like full into it. This is like just giving everything over. And a lot of it starts off kind of slow. It's like a new job. Like, it starts off slow, and you're learning things. So we had like a Wednesday. So I think we had 2 classes, and then Wednesday was not prayer group, or what was it called? There was like a group we did as a church with all the pastors, leaders, and then other people in that Wednesday thing. And then we'd do some praise and worship. So that's a very Pentecostal Christian thing, whereby you like kind of sing to God. Beautifully spiritual thing.
Awesome.
And then like, you know, there's constant songs that would play and you'd pray with people or pray over people or cool stuff. Yeah, so we'd have that on a Wednesday. Chapel, that's what it's called. Chapel, yeah, that's it. Bang. That, and then you'd have your classes, and then you'd be assigned like a role within the church, right? So this is actually so cool going on today. So, yeah, wow, it's just incredible. I've never recounted this even to myself.
Really?
Like, after going, no, because like, I mean, the last 2 weeks have been like incredibly revelatory for me because I blocked out lots of those memories. I didn't want to think about it because it just hurt.
Yeah, man, because I've always heard you, obviously you always mention the churchy things, but I've never had the picture painted.
It's such a part of my life that I blocked out. I just blocked. Didn't do that. Move on, kind of thing. But let's talk about it. So, yeah, so you're assigned a role, and you're assigned a leader that is your like disciple, or like you're their disciple,
Okay.
right? So, at the time, my leader was Nathan Pryor. Yeah, I don't think he'd mind me saying that at all. And he was the youth pastor at the time, 24 himself.
Wow.
So pretty young, right? I was just thinking about Nemo. Have you actually ever visited 32 Wallaby Way?
No.
That's like, is that not a thing to do in Sydney or something?
Maybe we can do that, I don't know. Sherman.
Oh,
P. Sherman.
P. Sherman.
Oh, that's the name. Yeah.
oh, that's the name of
P.
the diver.
Sherman, 32 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Or maybe Waterfront Way. That probably makes more sense. But I think it's Wallaby.
I think it's Wallaby. Yeah. All right. Cool. So you're in.
Yeah, that was a good, intermission.
Yeah. Exactly. Where are we?
Yeah, so when you're at Bible college, you get a role. You're assigned a role. So I was assigned. Nathan was my pastor at the time that I was under, and we'd catch up for coffees and stuff, talk about life, and then I was a part of the youth program. So the youth team. So there was like a youth church, which was church for like on a Friday night, like people aged 12 to 18 could come to the church and like we'd hold like a youth service, play games, do some fun shit. It was actually so cool. Great spot for like a kid to go. Anyway, so like I'd like come up with games. I'd, just hang out. I had like a group of kids that I'd work with, or chill with, talk about life. It was very much like Christian indoctrination as well.
Okay.
But also, it was a place of like a lot of love. There were some kids that had like really troubled lives, and we were just talking about their life. I mean, yeah, kids would open up to me about the depression or father beating them or all that kind of stuff, and it was so healing. And it was a bit of a numbers game. How many kids can we get there? And I love that because I'm such a salesperson, right? So
friends.
but what interestingly, what my role was there, I was taking over things like making sure that the night's running, logistics, all that kind of stuff. And then I also ended up taking over the food part. So we just needed to make sure it was like a food thing. And that was like my role. And I ran with it. And it turned into like a thing for the whole church.
Okay.
Right? So
what's the food? What?
Yeah.
Where's this food going? What's that doing?
So what the idea is that the food is for the kids, but it raises money for the whole program. So currently the youth program was running at a loss, like because no one's donating, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kids, you don't ask kids to donate.
No, yeah.
So how are you going to run this program? It's a food team. You know,
It's a sell food.
You sell food, make a profit. So I ran that team, and that was my leadership thing. So I had to have people under me, I had to have volunteers and get this shit running. And it went from, at the start, which was maybe March, it went from 2 people on the food team, and, you know, they had no set menus or nothing. It was just people ran and maybe did like a sausage sizzle or some shit. And they made like best $50. By the end, I'm making $500 a night, right? Like, got I think 18 people on the team or 20 people on the team.
Because it's all slave labor, like
It's all slave labor, but like I'm encouraging people and I'm checking in on people, making sure they're okay. Like when shit's going wrong, what's happening? I'm their biggest supporter because that's lead like Jesus, right? You support people, you love people, you encourage them.
Yes.
And you gain that level of influence to help build something great.
Just keep on talking. I'm gonna fix this.
So yeah, I'm doing that. And yeah, so the food team goes off. You know, we end up doing it at church services and stuff as well. And there's a thing called Zav's Burgers.
Oh.
Like that became a thing.
Yeah.
Because me and Mark Kabakian, which was the son of the pastor, who's such a good bloke, we would like go to, like he was like kind of my like right hand man, I guess, and we'd run this food team together. And we perfected the ratio of like pork to beef and like obviously keeping the cost down. And we were like, what we did one night is like we were testing out buns, you know, like different buns, different styles, ways that you should like butter it. So like you get the perfect crispy bun every time. And I created like a Macca's setup.
Yeah.
So it was like, I had the people that I was on team, A, like didn't know how to cook. B, were just like...
But all they have to do is scrape this amount of butter on that next one.
But some person's role, I kid you not, was toasting bread. It wasn't butter. It was this specific oil that was almost buttery. There was bang, bang, you know?
The 12 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, and then like this is the time, like you do this, like it was clockwork. And these burgers, like everyone wanted a burger. It was like a $5 burger with chips.
And they're all the same.
And they're all the
so
same.
cheap.
$5, but they're kids. I'm not going to charge them anything more.
And there's no wages.
And there's no wages. So, yeah, we'd ended up making like just, I mean, how many kids came? Like the biggest night we ever had, about 100 kids come. And I did an all-you-can-eat HSP night. Went off. And it was like $10 all-you-can-eat. Genius. Everyone ate like way less than what they bought. Yeah, and these burgers, like, if I stayed in the church, I would have, like, by now, like, I don't want to say this, I reckon it'd be like a nationwide Christian burger shop. And you'd be getting like little crosses imprinted on the thing with, you know, 100% that's where we'd be.
Hot cross burgers.
I had visions.
Hot cross
burgers. Genius, right? So yeah, this food thing was popping off. So that was like the first like 3 months I like took that under my wing. And then I got my next assigned role. It was all within youth programming. And then on Sunday, I'm still serving.
Real quick, sorry to stop the flow, but had you studied Macca's, or were you just thinking about this, or was this just natural?
I'm just like, it's just natural.
Yeah.
And this is me kind of finding I'm just a natural business kind of leader. Like, this is me. This is what I love doing. It's fun. It's easy. Like, let's just
Finding
do it.
success, yeah.
Finding great success. And then but let's take a couple steps back. Even before I started church, like I was serving on Sundays, and that's something, again, why I became so aligned with Christianity, is because I got to serve. Because for me, when I give, I receive love. So when I was on a Sunday, I would either just, one of my roles was standing there greeting people in the church and then making sure they all found a seat and made them feel welcome. Loved it. I just have a chat to everyone. It was so good. That's called the host team. There was like car park team, host team.
So funny.
Very leadership driven church, right?
Yeah.
Very structured.
Is every church like this?
No. Oh, a lot of Pentecostal Christian churches are, cause, following that Hillsong kind of model.
Okay. So they're really setting you up for utility in the real world setting.
It was the commerce degree I did was an absolute waste of time and money in comparison to this.
Yeah.
Like, this has taught me every leadership lesson that I need to know. It's why I am where I am now in the business world.
Because no practicals. That sounds like 90% of people who get into business, the idea of business is usually small business. And even big business is small business is blown up. So it's that. As far as I saw it, and I was only there half the time, granted, but the commerce degree, especially in Uni of Melbourne, was specifically to be like what I would call quite abstract business, evaluation and, you know, all that financy shit.
Well, it's teaching you to think intelligently and be good at your job. It's not teaching you how to build a business.
No.
Nothing about it taught you. Even the entrepreneur
It's not
course,
like giving value to customers and stuff like this. It's just the
No.
fundamental, like that's what makes the money and moves the needle.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all this stuff is how to optimize the needle being moved and shit. Like,
You learn nothing about building a business. You learn everything of how to be a fund manager. That's what commerce is. How do I build a fund that gets a positive return above the market?
Which, in my opinion of the life I want to live and aligned, is almost gross.
Commerce, and I don't want to say, like, it was pretty much a waste of time. Not necessary. It's just dumb. Anyways, leadership college, fantastic, doing that. And then I was also doing Kids World. So I'd be one of the kids leaders. And like, so when all the parents go to church, the kids stay in, I think it's like 0 to 12, right? And there was different groups. So there was like heroes room, and then there was like this room. And I loved Kids World because I love kids, right? I'm one of the oldest cousins out of 14 of us. So this is just where I just enjoyed like being there and like reading through little Bible stories and, you know, chatting with kids. And
So this is, like, a lot of my friends and stuff will all the time say like, oh, you know, you want to start a commune, you know, Colin, like, you know, you have this stuff. It sounds like at least this version of Christian church is like the ultimate commune setup.
massive community,
So-
beautiful place.
Is
Yeah.
it too rushed if I ask, what were the cracks in this relationship with God? Why did you break up? Like,
Well, these, again, so many faces, right? So this is the beautiful side of community and Christianity, right? But then there's because like, okay, and I was going to say, so youth group, primary function for the kids, whatever, but the leaders themselves are pretty much kids. Like the youth pastor, the head of the program's 24. Within 6 months of me being, 3 months of me being under him, he actually left the church. Yeah. Like he fell out of faith, right? So, yeah, and so he went through such a tough emotional time, and I felt so bad for him. But
and again,
anyway.
because all these people, especially if you got this leadership in this community, is giving you so much, not just faith-wise, but lifestyle-wise and love-wise and whatnot. And you're taking eggs from, as I said, all these baskets of your family and your like other community and your maybe sport to put them into this one basket of this church.
Yeah.
But it has this linchpin of your faith. And if that linchpin takes out, it all crumbles.
Yep, correct. So yeah, it's all about faith. It really is. So people without, so a lot of people have very interesting faith. They're not really surrendering, especially to so like, if you're going to surrender to that ideal, you're going to have to say like, well, I'm happy to not have sex until marriage. You're going to be happy to do it. And that's really important to know that. Happy to, not I have to. Yeah. So what I realized quite quickly is the heart is the most important thing. You just have to make sure, and you can change the way your heart is by the way you see the world. You just got to change the way you see the world. So do I see the world, or do I truly believe that it's good to have sex before marriage or not? Can I convince myself of that belief. And if I can convince myself I truly believe it, then it will sink into my heart, and then that's what I want to do. It'll make me happy. And that's where I realize you can really fucking believe whatever you want. It's crazy. Like the shit that you can indoctrinate yourself with, ridiculous. So I truly believed at one point in my life that sex before marriage was a bad thing. Like, and I was not only, I didn't want to not do it. Like I wasn't like like I want sex, but like I can't. It was like, no, I do not want to have sex before marriage. That will make me happy. Yeah. And then, so a lot of people go back to this kind of example of their faith. They're not really surrendering to that or believing in that. So
What are they believing?
it's this very like, I'm trying to follow God and do my duty to follow God. And I love God, but I also love these things. And I'm at war internally.
That's why I don't have all my energy and life force is soaked up in fighting this battle and this friction that I can't therefore be creating hot cross burgers.
No. Like, so it's faith on terms, and you can't do faith on these terms, or in that, at least in that like environment. You have to believe. You have to give your heart. You have to surrender. That's the whole point of that relationship with God. So I've already made that decision, but then you'd see people fall off because they didn't make that decision. But there's other reasons which I've now discovered, which is me being the block, being too. Anyways, so yeah. But other cracks, like people at this youth thing, because they're not there for God, they're there for themselves. Look,
for their friends and their cheap burgers and their...
Well, and like they're having emotional problems themselves. Because I was one of the leaders, right?
Therapy.
So they're getting community therapy as well. And church, and one of my still good mates, Liam Marek, fucking weapon of a human, said this. He said, like, church is just a hospital for broken people. Like it's just a hospital for people that are emotionally distraught. And there's a couple people around, very few, that are actually okay. Even some of
Those are the
lead pastors generally, or people
especially
like
the ones that are actually doing something, not just have the title, but...
Correct. But a lot of people aren't. Even sometimes the lead pastors. That's where you get freaking people getting raped and pedophiles, and they are operating on duty, and they are quite clearly, they have this internal battle, between like, I can't have a wife, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. And then it's bubbled up and surfaced for so long that it turns into some disgusting thing, and they do something incredibly horrid. But it's because they never surrendered that. They fucked it. Right?
How would they... Okay, that's beautiful. Well, not beautiful, but...
Well, it's either you get married, like, you just get married like a normal human, and like, don't surrender, don't force yourself to be doing something because you think it's good for God. Like, you need to either change your perspective, or you need to just do that thing. Right? So for example, there's parts of like the Bible, right, where it goes, like, you shouldn't marry someone if you want to fully devote yourself to God. So that's what the priests followed.
But if you're not naturally feeling the urge to fully devote yourself to God, just settle and surrender to the fact that you're there 70% and the other 30% is going to be...
And it's going to, like, there is this, it's going to hurt. Like, maybe I can get through it. But that's what turns into, like, fucking child pedophile. Or that's what I believe. Maybe there is some innate thing in people where, like, they do that. But I think it's because they're not surrendering to some part of themselves, or they're not,
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, or their relationship with their internal state is just, ugh. Like, there's so much resistance, and they've been resisting things for so long that it ends up turning into something disgusting. And I think that's actually what a lot of crime is in my mind. Like, there's a lot of fucking hurt and pressure and disgustingness, and you're trying to shovel it down, and you shovel, and then it's like, fuck this. And then I do push the person in front of the car, which is that thought that I've had. And I do freaking just shoot the person. Holy shit, I've just shot them.
Yeah, it's this urge or this feeling, sense of duty that I need to keep it all perfect. And I'm not willing to let myself slip here, slip there. But inevitably, I can't hold it together, and it's all...
Yeah. So I think that is a reason, like, not the reason, but a reason for losing faith, and a reason for, delving into those disgusting parts of the human.
And that's what you said at the start, you were kind of doing. You weren't letting yourself let the gassing, like, you know.
Nah, I was
so
going just full
exploded
in
this loss of
and
faith.
always trying to surrender and I ended up doing things that I never should have.
And what are those things?
So I think for me, it's so easy to just sacrifice parts of me for the benefit of others, and especially for the benefit of God. Easy as cake. Like if I need 2 hours sleep because, or 3 nights, like 7 nights in a row, because it's going to be some holy bullshit, done, sorted. Like,
Some holy bullshit.
yeah. Heathen. Yeah. Yeah, wow, crazy sentence that. Yeah, so now, let's take it back then. Like I was doing fasts, like 14-day fasts.
What?
But I was
Water
like,
fast?
water fast, right?
14 days.
14
and still
days.
like active or just chilling?
Well, I tried to be active. Didn't work. So
Whoa.
I tried cycling once.
How many days fast?
I think that was a 8-day or 7-day or something like that. And that was the worst decision ever because I was exhausted.
No shit.
But I didn't realize I was just so in this mode of self-sacrifice. Anything to get me closer to God or spirituality, I do. And when you're fasting, I mean, I think we've talked about this, but when you're fasting, you are so much more spiritual. Your blinkers in life go on. It's just bang, I'm here. And yeah, the clarity, or not the clarity you get with God, but the way that you can speak and like the things you're attuned to. Because when you're fasting, you're alert and your ears are wide open,
Yeah.
right? And you can hear the subtle voice of God so
It's
much more
almost like
clearly.
your brain is more open as well.
Of course your whole body is, you know, because it's about that. And God, especially what it says in the Bible, is that God wants your hunger, and it's not necessarily physical hunger. It's just the desire for Him. So when you sacrifice the food that goes into your mouth, not only is that physically you're getting hungry, but spiritually, what an act of dedication to say, I would rather not eat than and hear you. Like, it makes so much sense.
Thanks. And knowing, as I can see it so clearly, but knowing you, if you're into running, you're going to be the guy that's at run club and be like, yeah, I'm running the 100K.
Yeah, which is now happened.
Which is what happened.
So retarded.
Right? It's like, you're not the guy who's like, oh, I'm going 5K and then next month I'm going to do a 10K. Maybe next year I'll do a marathon. Like, and it's this lifelong thing because
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm into this, I'm all in.
Which is, yeah, kind of not healthy. And in this respect, it really
Okay,
wasn't.
so the fasting was one thing. What are the other things that you shouldn't have been doing?
I mean, it was definitely my girlfriend at the time. This is so cooked. So cooked. So, and yeah. So she claims not to have now, which is wild. But anyways, and now, like last time I spoke to her was probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago. But she got these like visions from God that we were meant to be together. Right? And I was like, hell no.
This is just a girl at church.
This is not just, it's so just, meh. Well, I don't want to go through, do you want to go through the whole story?
Go for it. What else are we doing here?
Oh, I know. It's just so, like, yeah, baggage. But anyway, so she comes from this Muslim family.
Oh,
And that she...
that's an interesting start.
And she's got a very toxic home environment. Always has had. A very abusive dad. I'm going to leave her unnamed, right? And...
Her, capital H.
Lowercase. I know what he said. Yeah, so... Yeah. So she comes from this really toxic environment. And she knows my best friend at the time, Michael Tabone. Another beautiful soul, right? One of the best humans. Oh my God, you should meet that guy. Anyways. And he starts taking her to church. And she's falling in this love idea with Christianity. And then she gets kicked out of home. And she needs a place to stay, so reached out to the church community. And I come to my mum and dad, I'm like, she should definitely stay at our house.
Is that because she's hot?
No. Honestly, I did not find her attractive one bit.
Oh.
Nothing. Sorry.
Is that because because of that, or because you wouldn't find anyone attractive because you're so attracted to her? She's kind of going to come stay.
So I'm like, she needs a place to stay. And my parents are like, okay. She stays over for like, I think a week or 2 weeks, a week and a half. And my mum and dad, like, she has to go. Has to go. She's clearly a spoiled brat that like is running away from home. And my mum's seen these things because she's been through shit, right? She knows. She's like, no. And I'm like, mate, you guys just have no faith, like all that kind of shit, like with helping someone.
Bodies, like.
Yeah. No, I wasn't at that point. Like, this is just, how could you, like, you're just kicking someone out, like, you don't know, you're wrong. That's the first point of, like, didn't trust mum and dad.
Oh.
Right?
Interesting.
And then she's friends with Michael, and then she then lives at another friend's house at the church that we're all kind of in a kind of group with. So she starts going to all the things that we're going to, and like I find her really annoying. Like, really annoying. She's always pissing me off. Just saying shit and acting like, I'm like, oh my God, you are like crazy. And then she's kind of a part of this group now, and you know she's kind of new to faith. But this is about like I think June, the year before Bible college, and then she ends up wanting to go to Bible college, right? So she goes hanging out with me and Michael, and we're like both are kind of the brothers running towards God per se together. Like, just like, oh, you got this revelation, I got that revelation. Oh, you understand this scripture, I understand. I was like, what? No way. Like, I prayed over this person, this happened. I'm like, what? Like, such a good relationship. Yeah. And we're so both energetic and we're just killing it in life. Right? But then Taylor's there and she's like, oh no, like, I want to go to Bible college too. Mm-hmm. And I'm like praying, like, God, do not let this woman go to Bible college. I do not want her there. It's going to be super annoying. But long and behold, like, the pastors like said that, you know what? We prayed on it. And we usually don't let people in to Bible college with this, just not this much amount of time, but you should come.
To her.
So then she's along to Bible college now. So I'm seeing this shit all the time. And then within about, just skipping a couple steps, we're all hanging out all the time. Within about like 4 months, I think, she like professes her love to me. She like sits down, she's like, I think I just love you. Like, just told me blank face. It's like, that night was, so me, Michael and her like had like a little worship night together. We were like just praying and, you know, like trying to seek out God and all that kind of stuff. And she was
that's the thing that you guys do.
Yeah.
So it's just like, come over on Friday, we're getting some pizzas, we're going to read the Bible and just fucking look for it.
Yeah. Just read the Bible and then pray. And then worship all night. Right?
What's worship? What is worship?
Can't believe we've never spoken.
Hallelujah! Like, what is this?
No, it's like, there's like...
Just getting off on like, oh my God, how good's God? Yeah, I know. How
so
good
there's music that plays.
Yeah.
In this setting of worship. Sometimes you don't even need to do that. You just, but meditate, whatever. But this like, worship is, in this context, there's this kind of music that's very devotional to God. You know? I have my favourite worship song. I'll show you after this. Like, it's called Open Space by House Fires. I still love that song. I think it's still so incredible.
What's that Hillsong song?
My Heart is in Oceans.
That is such a banger.
This is so much better.
Okay.
Sorry. It's like, my heart is an open space for you to come and have your way. I'm open. I was like, oh. Anyways, Giles.
Have your way with me.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Big daddy. Anyways, we're doing one of those nights and she's just...
So is being Christian gay? Like...
So she's just... This is one of the ignore Tim moments. She's like being really dramatic. She's like, oh, like, I've got something to say, but I can't say it. I'm like being so dramatic. And I just like, oh, shut up. Say it. She's like, no, I can't. And so I'm like, you're totally just going to say you like me. Like, I already know, but I'm not saying. Just freaking... She's like, oh, wait, I need to pray with Michael separately. She goes, praise Michael for ages.
Right. Oh, so
And Michael comes out, like, look, just be nice. I'm like, okay. Go into the room. She's like, still, like, causing a ruckus. And that's just, like, now knowing me, after this whole thing, I just do not like that whole dramatic energy at all. So, clearly why I didn't like this. And she's like, Xavier, I just gotta say, like, I'm so, like, in love with you, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, oh, I was brutal. Like, I was like, I do not love you in any way. We are never going to be together. Ever. And she's like, and then she fucking hated me. Anyway, so that happens, right? And I'm like, holy shit. That's past now. And then after a while, maybe a couple months or so, I'm like, we're still mates now. But she's becoming, like, more normal as a human, right? I'm like, oh.
no.
Yeah. And then I'm telling, she's like, oh, like, would you ever see yourself with someone? I'm like, yeah, I just don't think I've met them at all. And I remember this night, she's like, she's like, well, I'm like, I should go talk to this girl that I used to hang out with. I'm like, I kind of see something there. Some girl that I used to hang out with at school that was, like, a really cute chick. And then she's like, well, I got to tell you something. God spoke to me. This is 3 months after, by the way. You know, God spoke to me, and I think we're meant to be together. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? She's like, well, I've had, like, confirmation, and I've had a dream. You know, so she tells me about her dream and how the sun's gonna rise and all this bullshit. And then it tells me about, like, multiple people have given her confirmation of it. So she's prayed with other people, and they said, yep, Zav's the one. Like, this is happening. This is what God said. And I'm like, this can't be true. You are... No. No way.
Yeah, are you allowed to question other people's perception?
Oh, no, you totally can.
Yeah.
Like, people say wild shit that God made them do. But I was still very infant in my belief. Right? So I thought that this could potentially be a possibility. And, like, I remember distinctly, I don't know how long this was after that fact, because it took a while for things to unravel. But I remember crying in my shower, being like, God, no. No.
Don't curse me.
Don't do this to me. I can't. I don't want this. Like, this is not the person I want to be with. But somehow, and I actually don't know where it went from this to that, but I, like, the dream that she told me about, like, and I don't know if this is confirmation bias or whatever, but I saw it unraveling. Like, things freaking came true. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like...
So, God, I really don't understand what games you're playing here and what lessons I'm supposed to learn. Blah,
yeah,
blah.
but then came a time when I was like, I think this is meant to happen. Okay. And I surrendered. Yep. And this draws us back all the way to that question you asked me. Where was another unhealthy point you surrendered? And that was it. That I was like, this is... As soon as that penny flipped from no to this is God's will, bang, instantly, I'm in love with her. Or like, this is the one for me. And I was so stubborn in that fact. I was like, this has to be it, right? So I channeled my love for God into my love for her, which was this pedestal, like, because it's him doing it. So, anyways, and then I start dating her. I tell my mum, right? Remember the back of the star? She flips her shit at me, yelling at me, and I'm crying as she's doing this. It's hurting me, you know? She's just yelling at me, and I'm like...
Because she's essentially yelling at your faith in God.
Right? And I'm like, she doesn't know God's going to turn this all around. That's my mindset.
You body.
Birthing. So we're in that phase.
Vestibule.
And over the 9 months or year that we were together, it just keeps going deeper and deeper and more hurt and more pain.
Because you're still annoying. So Zav...
Yeah. Well, Zav's in there. You know?
Zav in there is still feeling like, what the fuck is this? And then it's like, yeah, wow, this is so...
So I'm just stripping away... This is just stripping away every part of me. You know, this relationship in particular. Because there was so much crazy shit You know, like, let's say we were like hooking up and they're like, she'd want to go further. I'm like, no. Like, no, we would go a bit further. But like, again, this Christian, really strong Christian morals. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I do. I'm a guy as well, but I don't. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so confused.
You're a guy, but she's not hot, so it's like, what?
Well, she becomes hot.
Yeah.
So then I develop this love for her, and she becomes so beautiful to me. Everything about her, like smell and whatever, and you know. So love does form.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Right? But it's a love I never should have had. Or maybe I should have for some reason that's unbeknownst to me yet. But it just broke me. It really did. And it was just confusing. And that's the end. Like, fast forward 9 months, I've become so confused in who I am and my faith because of, I think, this relationship, but also stripping all these parts off me because of surrender, that I'm like, I'm fucked. Like, and I then, like, that's when I developed my anxiety. Like, I'm so incredibly anxious, you know, because I'm just so confused on this love. And that's so, no, wait, let's take a couple steps back. About the last month of this, people are praying over me, really senior leaders now, saying, this is not the right girl for you.
Huh.
Right?
Okay. They're getting torn.
So I'm like, ugh. Like, because now my faith has such a strong linchpin to this person. If that breaks, well, my faith is wrong, or like, like I'm now doing wrong, right? So I was so utterly confused and broken that now that that's coming in, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do here. I didn't know whether to break up with her or stay with her. Because again, this is not about just my love. This is about God.
And this is the thing that I think tried to say before. For most Christians that I've come across, the linchpin is belief and love and faith in God and Jesus specifically. It seems to be important, and I still don't fully understand why. And the good thing about that, the convenient thing about that is, Jesus isn't around. God, you're never going to actually like touch it. Hey, you can't prove it wrong.
Yeah.
So the linchpin is relatively stable in the fact that it might not be getting pushed into place, but if something, yourself, whatever culture pushes it into place, nothing's really going to pull it out so easy. Whereas if it's into a person, it's traumatized girl, very easy to be pulled out.
So, I mean, yeah. So end up breaking up with her in a crazy way. Just like God told me to. Like, oh, you never.
This is so funny. Oh my God.
Like, because I tried to break up with her a couple times, didn't work.
God told me to. I might use that one.
I feel horrible, and I think that's the worst thing I've ever done to someone. But I didn't. I really didn't mean it to hurt her at all. That was not my intention, and I didn't see how that could be so painful. Well, no, it was just literally because God told me to. Like, that is actually story.
Oh, okay.
It's not save yourself, because remember, I'm fully self-sacrificial at this point, right? This is not about me. It's not about her. It's quite literally, God told me to, or at least I think, being very confused and unknowing. And then at it, like, we're gonna start getting back together again. And I remember this moment specifically. We kissed in a car, and I felt this weight in my stomach saying, you know, you've gone wrong by God. And I just felt anxious from that moment on. And that's never left.
Never left?
No. Even to this day, still like slightly anxious at that moment. Like, I was fucked. Like, I was like, I thought, well, it's not like it's so good now. Like, I'm so much more calm and, you know, but that tap that I was describing at the start, that tap like got turned on.
That's why you need to meditate. Because you
Prior-
kissed a girl in the car.
I kissed a girl in a car. Crazy. But prior to that, I was always happy.
Do you think...
Well, like, I was always okay. Actually, no, I had panic attacks leading up. Like, I started having panic attacks. And I started going to the hypoglycemic mode. And that was like... Tick! Like, it was just the edge.
Do you see...
that moment.
That relationship, and specifically, God's told you to break up, but then you're kind of somewhat going back and kissing in a car. Is that the forbidden fruit? Is that the bite in the apple?
Well, that's what I thought at the time. Not really. Like, I thought that I was... Because remember, I was just confused. Like, I give myself so much more grace now because I was actually just so confused on what God wanted me to do. Remember, at the start, God promised, that was my promise. Or, like, not my promise, but it was the promise that I was meant to fall into, you know. But now it's not, or now it's definitely not. You know, you were never meant to do it. So I was just really confused. There's definitely a version of Xavier that doesn't do that and completely surrenders everything to that spirit of God. Everything I have. Like, that's in me. I know that is. But
You never touching a woman, hopefully never touching a kid.
I would have done that.
Yeah.
100% would have done that. That'd hurt.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be a hard one to strip off. But
Maybe we'd meet Zav the pedophile in 20 years.
But yeah, so anyway, so that happens, and then from then on, I just get like incredibly anxious and depressed, like so bad, the worst thing, and that's why my relationship with God spiraled out of control, or like not out of control. I fell out of love with God because I was so confused in my love. I had no clue. I didn't understand anything, and at that point, that was about a couple days before, so there was a Melbourne Uni cutoff point, like going to Melbourne Uni. And I was like, I remember that day.
Had you deferred it by a year?
I deferred it by a year.
Sure.
So on the day that was the last day you could accept, orientation had already passed. I was like, okay. So I just accepted it. And that was from an absolute point of weakness. I was like, I'm just going to do this. That's the only reason I did commerce, Melbourne.
Because it was the other...
Well, I would have done the coffee cart stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like a skin in my teeth that I kind of came to commerce. Like, I wasn't going to. And I was going to become a pastor. Like, I was going to ditch my whole life. And that's what I said to God in that moment of breaking up. I will ditch my whole life for you. I will do that. Give me clarity. And it was at that point where I lost all clarity. And I was like...
Weren't here when I needed you.
Yeah, and I was crying for months on end, saying exactly that. I remember how I was saying we have that really sad song. That's one of the sad songs that I got. It was called "Faithful" by Paradoxology, and it goes like, "You are faithful. Why should my heart be afraid? You are faithful. You never left me alone." And like every time I listened to that, I'd feel more and more alone, because I felt like God wasn't there. And there's also a scripture, it talks about how like if you like rest and rely on God, that all of your worries and everything will lift off. And in that moment, I'd never felt more pain and like more hurt. I don't think I ever will again than I was then. And
that was at the deepest point of your faith as well.
And that was at the deepest point of my faith. And that's when I went, no. Because if this is what it is, I cannot handle this. So,
and it's not that sense of this was just the final tribulation. This is Abraham holding the dagger. Are you fucking kidding me? But as soon as he goes down or whatever happened, like God's, don't worry. Like,
yeah, this is me killing the sun.
Does any part of you think that if only I'd really gone into it,
no,
God would have?
I killed the sun. I killed the dream. I killed that because like that. I would never dreamt of dating her, but then when I did, it became my dream. And then I had to kill it. And I did. I did whatever I was asked. But after it all, I destroyed myself completely.
Because you didn't want to break up with her, but God said.
Well, no, at that point, no now. I didn't want to break up with her at all. But now God said it. I'm like, okay. But then I was it was really hurt. Really, really, really fucking hurt. So,
if those songs, those Christian songs, kind of... Oh, it's painful because like the singer is feeling this and I felt the opposite. What the fuck? Why me? Are there stories, songs, things, other people's experiences you've heard that you can imprint onto that story that you experienced?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like people come out of cults or something maybe and like...
Yeah, I know other people that have actually had similar things happen to them where like they got a promise from God to be with someone, they ended up with them, wasn't for them. Like I do know other people like that.
Do you feel alone as a little island in this life experience, or where have you found solidarity?
Look, 100%, I feel really alone in that. You know, And it hurts. That's all right. Like it hurts. And that's why I've never spoken to anyone. Because, I feel like if I speak to people about this, it's a long story, number one. So you have to have someone that's willing to sit and wait, because there's so much context that's missing. And not a lot of people have been down these paths in life or felt these, not felt these kinds of feelings. I think probably have felt the feelings, but especially from this angle. So I just don't talk. I just never talked about it. Tell you, I've never talked to anyone about this in depth ever. Nowhere near. I've never talked to people about leadership college, what it was about.
Just so wrapped up in this year of...
Well, I give people the condensed version because I think it's probably the version they want anyways. Well, they probably want, maybe they want more, but, remember, we're living in that Western society. People want the high level stuff. What's that thing called Finimize, where it sums up all the books and shit? Yeah, that's what people want.
Yeah.
They don't want or at least maybe I'm not willing to give it. The funny thing is, after that all happened, one of the things that encouraged, because I was really depressed, fucking hated my life with a passion, right? At one point. One of the things that encouraged me so much is that one day, I'll be able to use this for good. And I think that thought is just freaking so powerful. Yeah. It's just and that carries me through, because I'm I know I'm feeling every day or every moment of every day, it feels like daggers are striking me in my stomach. I'm broken here, but I know that this is going to be great for people. So I'd repeat my story to myself. This is what happened, and this is how I got over it, and this is how I moved forward, and this is how... And that would be part of my anxious thoughts, but pretty positive anxious thought.
Alex Hormozy says that in a very business kind of grunt mode. So if you're feeling like you're in those dark chapters, you're low and you're poor, whatever it is, it's you can reframe it as, this is a story I will tell. I will one day tell.
Exactly.
I'm down in the dumps. I tried, I failed. These failures, these things, these rejections, these moments of shit. This just adds layer and icing on that cake of the story I will one day tell.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that's everything. That's the Christian journey. And then from then it just went, my faith fell off a cliff, especially because in that time frame, God was changing the face, or the face that I was seeing, to more judgmental. So every scripture I read was judgment. Humanity's dead. Not humanity's dead, but you're all sinners and you're going to go to hell. They're all the script. That's what I started seeing in Christianity. Everywhere I looked. And I was I can't do this.
So it wasn't this love Hillsong?
It wasn't the love that I first engaged with. It became, and that was especially being with my partner at the time, that's where she was going, right? And some of the friends that I was hanging around, it became that, and it was crushing my faith. Hatred. And oh, these pastors are preaching the wrong messages, and these people are doing this and this. And I'm I can't do this. He's a false prophet, and this, it's not who I am. It's not, at least not my expression of faith. Yeah. So yeah, I think they're people designed to be cynical and designed to, like the people that always talk shit about politics. There's enough of those people. I can be the positive guy. Yeah, you know what? There is one slight good aspect to Donald Trump, and I can see it. Or there's great aspects of this person or that thing. There's enough people that talk shit.
It does seem like everyone's going to experience pain, and it's just your choice of what you do after the fact.
Correct.
Do you sit in that? Do you resent the world for making you feel pain? Or do you try your very best alchemizing that into something positive and love?
I mean, that story that I was telling myself, right? I'm going to use this for good. I'm only an alchemizer.
Yeah.
I will nothing, and I think that came a bit of a unhealthy thing for me, but nothing will stop me from doing good things in the world. Nothing. Not next time, not a relationship, not a faith, it's just I will do the good that I know that's inside of me, I'm capable of, and the good and this is the I guess the twist in the story, that the good that I once thought was defined by you but now became defined by me. Whatever I define as good, I will do. Which was a bit of a burden in and of itself, but I needed to channel my energy into something that was at least positive. So that's the conclusion that I came to for a long time.
I certainly connect with this story, and I'm sure non-Christians will connect in that breakup. Not just with the girl, but with God. Like, falling in love and then breaking up with God makes so much sense. And so the way you describe those emotions and feelings and roller coasters is so similar to how I see almost everyone have had this thing. And obviously I think we're all a bit jealous of Christians who are just like the whole way through.
Yeah.
Or high school sweethearts who are just the whole way through. Part of us is like, and we don't know the full story, right? So it's never always good behind the scenes, or maybe it is amazing. But I certainly feel like most people, in all sorts of different ways and twists and turns, put someone on a pedestal in a relationship, for instance. Like, oh my God, this all this love that I've always known I have, but haven't had the right channels and abilities to express and communicate. I just throw onto someone, or God, or a belief, or a school score, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, whatever yeah.
I just
100%.
channel this love and energy and divinity, and then it lets me down. The girl or the guy breaks up with me, and you get burned, the score didn't happen or didn't give me what I wanted, whatever it is, you get burned. And it's so much harder after that fact to let as much of those eggs that you put in that basket go again. And you become risk averse, you want to diversify, and you don't want to go all in. I don't know if the right answer is to diversify, and well, I'll never fully put someone on a pedestal and absolutely cherish and love and worship them again, or instead I'll take that as a nice transactional relationship, and then I might keep my family. But I think that also has its costs of something about going all in, or at least close to it. It's not a zero-sum game. I don't have 100 eggs of energy and life force and love, and I just 10 here, 10 there, 10. It's almost as if I give 90 of this, suddenly 60 more respawn that I can put in this. You know, you love and then you love more, and it's almost a muscle of committing and loving and giving value and going all in. But it's really hard because it's this whole idea of strengthening your resolve and strengthening your ability to suffer that burn, that fall and disappointment without letting it callous you and close your heart.
But you got to keep a soft heart, right? So I remember promising myself that I will not hate God. I will not hate the church. It's not going to happen. It's like I will keep a soft heart, but I will gain hard feet. So I do not resent the church whatsoever. I still think it's beautiful, and I still recommend most people that you should go to a church or find some kind of religious practice that is preferable to you. I totally believe in that. I think that faith is such an incredible thing, and that kind of love is something that everyone should experience. It's so...
Just to know they have access to it.
So many people are living on like the scraps of the engine. Like, ugh. Like, there's like, you do an MD on a weekend, buddy. Like, go get some fucking love. This is just dog feed. You know, like, you have access here. And for so long, I cast myself out as like I can't access that anymore because I know what I've known. I've been burned the way that I've been burnt.
Can't love again.
I can't love again, but I can. As of last week or 2 weeks, starting to realize that I can in some capacity. And that's like, man, so exciting, you know, so freeing. Yeah.
What kind of things in this last week or two are you looking back to as middle points and significant points along this last, 4 or 5 years since the breakup with God, that, you know, let's say this thing that I did, or this person I met, or this thing I learned didn't get me there right then, but it's quite clearly been an essential road mark.
Super essential.
In this destination. What kind of things have been along that journey?
So I think what was interestingly symbolic for me, that was at that time I was really struggling with God, or at odds. I became the Jacob story. I was like, no, my way's good. Your way's not. I know what I'm here for. At the time, like, but still being super anxious or whatever. And interestingly, I broke my hip. Quite literally. Like, I was riding around on my bike.
When?
I was riding around on my bike with Gus, and he left.
This is relatively soon after.
This was 6 months after the fact.
Oh, you're kidding.
Right? 6 months after the fact. So this is like fully anxious, whatever. Like, and that's it. I'm now at about a couple months in. I'm like, I can't do this. I cannot have this relationship with you, because I was trying to climb back in, but then I wasn't. And I was like, I was quite literally wrestling with God. And then, and then I fucking break my hip. And I'm like, no.
You can't be right with this as well.
You can't, no chance. But I'm still like super anxious. Like, maybe this is my sign. Maybe this is what I need. I don't know. Still super confused.
Do I move to Israel now?
Oh yeah, still I'm at Melbourne Uni doing Hebrew course still. Like, so I still like want to believe in God, but I'm like rejecting it. And yeah, so that happened. And I had to heal again, and you know, and I mean, now I've still got a bolt in my hip. And I thought that was symbolic of my struggle with God. But I was still feeling incredibly anxious. And at that time, I didn't even know that I had anxiety per se, or depression. I just thought I'd like, either God hated me and like gave me some spirit or some shit, or like I was just fucked. Like, I could not believe or comprehend in my mind that I would be anxious. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I've never even been close to that. So that happened. And then like after a while, I realized that like, whoa, like I'm freaking mentally ill. Holy shit. What the?
This guy?
This guy? I'm positive.
I'm hot cross fucking burgers.
I'm hot cross burgers, man. This is ridiculous. And I just, So, and that was this full, and I slowly but surely, like, after day in, day out of so much pain, I just let it all go. And I just, like, it's so weird.
While you had the injured hip?
I, like, before that, letting go, and then after, and still letting go. Like, I was trying to wrestle, and I was...
What does letting go even mean? I mean, sorry to bog us down, but...
You're going to be like, what the fuck? Like, this is me swearing for the first time in my bed.
Wow.
I did not swear for like 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever.
No,
I did not swear once.
It's so funny because, again, the breakup analogy, like, guy will go all in, girl cheats or break up or whatever it is, and then he becomes the bad guy. Becomes the fucking
not me
playboy.
becoming the bad guy.
Well, it sounds like it.
No, but I'm just
in
like,
that Christian sense, you know?
What I'm just doing is I'm navigating.
You're not now like pulling thoughts on a weekend just to fucking do it, like going into the gym. You're swearing in your bed.
So this is all through COVID, and like I have no one to speak to really about this, because I feel more anxious when I speak to my church friends, one, and then two, all my friends I used to hang out with, I hadn't hung out with for a year and a bit. Or like I saw them, but not really. Only constant was Angus, right? And so he...
What a constant.
What?
What a constant.
What a constant. Or him and Nakai were probably the two people that I kind of spoke to. And still Sam and Cam and all those guys, but really it was Gus. And I mean, he helped me so much. He helped me so much in my darkest moments.
Did he help by this sitting down there, or is it more like, let's go for a bike ride, and he's just a shining example of someone living a good life and being sitting with themselves, not having God and relationships and stuff?
No, yeah, like that. But it's kind of, so let's say I'd be feeling really fucked that day, I'd still go on a ride with Angus, and I just feel so, like, not so much better, but better after. Like, he was like the light in my life, you know, and without him, you know, like I could have killed myself. Like I was fucked. Yeah. You know, he was so incredibly special to me. That guy helped me more than he knew. I mean, I talked about how I felt with him, but I never went to this level just because it was, I mean, now it's easier to sit and talk about it. But then it was, even though I was repeating that story, it was so hard to explain. I felt so ashamed and so, you know, like, I'd imagine, and I don't say I am one, I imagine this is how like a rape victim would feel. Like, how the fuck do you let this guilt of what happened to me out and like explain the situation and, you know, or like some like, you know, child that's been fucked over, like. So I didn't really, I hadn't talked about it to anyone except like my sister, who's like, again, like my life angel. You know, she's just an incredible human. Yeah, so she helped me through all that, really. Yeah, and then, I mean, let's talk about this hip break again, because I broke my hip and I'm so in so much pain. And I explained this story now. I was like, oh yeah, when I broke my hip, I said it was a 7 out of 10 pain. I said that mostly because that was the best I'd felt in 6 months. Like, breaking my hip was so much better than feeling the constant pain in my gut, because it was the first sufficient distraction, which is fucked. Like, I can't describe how much pain I was in every day. And then when I got to sleep for hours on end because I was recovering and like that I was just on drugs, fucking awesome.
I mean, that makes people who self-harm, that makes logical.
I get why.
Yeah.
It's escapism. Like, you're trying to mask the pain by bringing about more pain. That's what I mean, yeah. And that's what, like,
Fire with fire.
There was some point where, like, I just can't turn to drugs. Like, I'm trying to heal here. That is not healing. It's going backwards. I totally believe in coping mechanisms or, like, healthy distractions, like go for a run, or, I mean, that can also become unhealthy, right? But you have to find your coping mechanisms when you're in that mentally ill spot. Find healthy ones, you know. Don't find unhealthy ones.
Even if you take the healthy ones to an unhealthy level, like overrunning or something, it's never going to get quite as bad as...
Oh, it's just so much better to curb when you're at the end.
Exactly.
Because you need it for a bit to just prop you up.
It's hard to like, healthily take heroin.
Yeah, you just can't healthily take heroin. So yeah, I mean...
It's like, no, I just do it once and like...
And then that moved into... And then I moved out with some friends that I used to be mates with and I rekindled with. And they were like very party, drugs, all that kind of stuff. So it felt kind of like taking me out of that. And I'd go get like hammered with them all the time and that felt good. And then I went on exchange and I did that. I was like, this is the first time. Like, I remember booking my exchange 6 months before. Me like, oh my God, like I'm going to be on my own for like days on end. How am I going to go with this mentally? Like, crazy. And that's kind of when I met you at around that stage. Mm-hmm. You know, so I was going out, but I was still like mentally just gone. And then, yeah, but slowly but surely,
it's so
I just
wild,
got better and better and better.
It's so wild because we hear about this all the time. When I met you, no part of it shows, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Such good community.
Well, I was holding that. I wanted no one to see that. And not because, or not no one, sorry. I wanted no one that I didn't want to see that. My parents, my sister, Gus, they saw that.
But even 3 weeks of you, me and Gus gallivanting around.
Yeah, I was anxious that whole time.
But I feel like it never came out.
No.
Yeah.
And that's not because, like, I mean, we were still getting to know each other. So, like, I didn't want to share that with you just yet.
Yeah.
And as well, the kind of person that I am, if I'm not giving anything, it's not, like, how is that conducive to a healthy relationship? Yeah. You know, it's, or whatever that word, conducive, conductive, whatever. I'm not giving that to you. Like, you know, yeah. Something I've learnt over the years, but anyways. Yeah, so then there was that, and then I went overseas, and that's when all, like, the girls thing happened. Like, that was just escapism. And as well, like, because my relationship with my ex was some unhealthy love channeled through God. I was just trying to find, like, what a fucking relationship's like, or like, I was trying to rebel against God in every single way. So that's why I ever had sex with someone.
So you started experimenting with that mainly in Denmark?
Beforehand I started, but afterwards, yeah. But now I'm done because I'm really full circle now, or I'm really at the stage where it's like I'm okay. There's still some things that I find really hard now, like girls, my relationship with girls, fucking so difficult for me. Like, I still get so anxious around, even if I spot a potential girl that I would really like, it makes me anxious. Like, so anxious.
Can you, I mean, it's hard to describe emotions, it really is, but can you paint a picture or describe the flavour of that anxiety?
It's like...
The specific, like, potential girl. Because I know you're not anxious around girls.
No, like on the outside, you think like this guy's confident, charismatic, whatever.
Around girls, maybe that you, like, that subset of category of girls that you might see a potential future with.
Correct. Those girls, like, and it's not that extra hot chick that I'm like, I'm nervous to talk to her. That's one feeling that I still get, but that's not that. This is like like, you're like really cool.
Yeah.
That girl.
I can see you like long-term partnership.
And I just like, I can't stop thinking about it. I get like sick to my stomach. I just like, it's like I play situations over and over and over in my head. Just random shit. I'm like, what is going on? Like, so to be honest, there's something there, and I actually don't know. I actually don't know what it is. But the more I talk about it, even with you, I think the way that I had my last relationship is I channeled this attachment to a girl to my attachment to God, which was full devotion. And now I'm like, oh, like, I don't want to devote myself. But wait, this is how I love. Is that like so? And I'm like, well, yeah. And then I need to devote every part of me, and this is what a relationship is. And so I'm just really scared, to be quite honest. Or like, not scared. I'm just like, my body's scared because trauma leaves a mark, right? So this has just left a mark on me, and I'm just like, my body's like, but my mind's like, what the fuck's going on? And then thinking like, So the answer really is I'm still figuring that out. And because I haven't had a relationship since my ex, most likely because of that reason, because of this attachment shit, and I get anxious, and although probably you can't see it, you can feel it, and I reckon other people feel that.
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
I get it. Not the exact same, but similarly confused, because the going all in full devotion, I have so much evidence and faith in the fact that that is the right course of action with things like a business idea or a trip, or even, like, but something in our biology places so much importance. Everyone knows why on these intimate partnerships. Suddenly I'm not using the same rule books. I'm not approaching the girl I can maybe see, an intimate relationship with in the same way I approach a friendship, same way I approach a business, same way I approach studying or a career path, where I think you probably should. Like, I found, like, I think in my own realm and world perspective, I found success in friendships. I found success in what I do with my, like, life and where I live, and, like, these big decisions. I'm like, I actually think I'm really good at making those big decisions and following through and living them, and the eggs are all placed in more or less the right baskets at the right times. Yet with that stuff, it's like,
yeah, that's hard. I don't know.
Different weird rule book, or is it like, it just feels like I've got a handicap or something? It's like,
just figuring out the rules.
Yeah.
And I think the way you're kind of figuring out is just by taking the step. So although I'm having these emotions, and this is something maybe I think's going to happen, but I don't know. Again, surrender. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? Probably someone that will help me navigate these emotions. And that, like, someone that is completely opposite to where it was that I was helping them navigate their emotions. Me surrendering to the fact that, whoa, I can actually be helped in a relationship. Because the one prior was just me helping everything, I was always the shoulder to cry on and all that kind of stuff. Because I was just chilling, really.
I'm God's kid.
I'm God's kid, man. Choose a piece, bro. That's killing it.
Any ladies listening?
Always know how to wheel the story, don't you? I was going to say something, but a little in my mind, so yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that plane's taking off.
No, it's super interesting. I mean, yeah, I felt like that was a really easy one for you kind of guide the conversation in ways I wanted it to go.
Okay.
You didn't have to like specifically like pinpoint. There are a few things that we could keep on going, but I'm sure they'll come up and we'll talk about them later. That's pretty awesome.
That's good. How long has it been?
I don't know, a couple of hours maybe, do less. Happy to leave it there. Are you?
Happy to do whatever. You're the director.
I think I am curious about the business side of things because it feels like it's maybe a similar loop been happening. But I don't know if you want to talk about that.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
What kind of parallels and what do you? Because for context, you say like this current thing of going all into the business, and then as of recently, like fucking feeling that. Quite clearly a parallel story because you're the same. You are you, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to operate with things in similar ways. Can you just describe how those two situations, the devotion to business versus devotion to God, devotion to the ethereal father versus devotion to your physical father, has been the same? What lessons you learned from the first time around that you've been trying to apply the second with success versus with failure?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just super interesting because at one point, I devoted everything to the Father above, and now it's like I'm almost doing that again. And it's a bit scary with my actual dad.
Not just a body anymore.
Not just a body. But yeah, so I'm just working, a lot. And so for the past 2 years...
Within his business. Yeah.
So my dad owns a financial planning practice. And for the past 2 years, like I've just been, growing at like a rapid rate. So I started off I've always had a bit more responsibility. It's because of the trust thing. So he trusts me, so he's always giving me a bit extra. And responsibility just means more work, really. So I've always had extra things to do, and I've always risen to the challenge for the past 2 years. So we have like a custom software that I just...
Custom software?
Yeah, so we have like a custom software that we make, and then like that delivers our reports to the clients essentially. Mm-hmm. So I started building that. Mm-hmm. That's why I started. This was at the point, this is actually so fascinating how this all works. So a lot of my pivotal decisions have happened in times of really emotional vulnerability. So like I made the decision to go to uni when I was really fucking emotional. Like I broke up with my girlfriend because again, really emotional. And then I decided to join my dad's business when Gus died, or the week after.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was pretty vulnerable. I was so hurt. So that happened, and then so I joined the business. Well, I didn't join. I was just doing some coding things. So I just kind of finished. I made Gus's memorial video. It took me like 6 days or 5 days. And then I just started doing some coding stuff for my dad. When coding, I say like Excel programming. And then, maybe he needed extra help with this stuff, so I just did it. And then more and more, it just became. Then I just became an employee, signed a contract. Didn't do a police check. Who knows what I get up to? So I did all that. There we are. So I did all that, and then I just started working. And so usually a grad just starts doing the grad role, but I've got the Excel program to look after. Fun. And then I didn't actually have the right degree that I needed. So after 6 months of like steep learning, because like as soon as you go to an office job, like, or some high performing like finance job, it's fucking hard. There's just especially the first 6 months, there's so much shit you need to learn.
Which, again, they don't teach you in Commerce and Melbourne.
Well, I learned nothing. So this is interesting. I learned how to make the product, but not recommend it. Or like, I did learn nothing about insurance, nothing about super, nothing about, or not much about tax, because I didn't do any of the accounting subjects. So 0 to 100 the first 6 months, and then I was like, okay, well, I got to do my financial planning thing to become a financial planner, which is the course. And then that was so hard. So I started doing 2 subjects a week on top of work, on top of coding, on top of thingo. And I'm still learning, by the way. Like, this is not stopping. And there's just more and more things to learn. And then I'm just by 6-7 months in, I'm already kind of climbed up to the next part, which is like vetting SOAs and being more strategic and all that kind of stuff. Like statement of advice is the compliance side of things. So not only I'm just punching numbers in shit, like I'm actually making sure that things are right, doing all that. And mind you, I'm also teaching and training the overseas team because we have an overseas team. And naturally,
that sounds like 6 different jobs.
Yeah, well, naturally, my like leadership stuff is like, if I learn something, I teach straight away. That's just how I operate in life. If I'm even learning something right now, I want to share it with everyone because I want us all to grow, right? So as soon as I learn something, bang, I'm teaching these guys. And the manager wasn't doing shit. So it was just me doing that. And then some others. Anyways, so we're doing that. Then we go to the end of that first year. And then everything's going well. Wait, what's the timeline of this? So that's June 2022 to 2023. Yeah, so this must like, yeah, right. So that's the first year. Wait, I've only been there for 2 full years. 1 year. Yep. Anyway, yeah, so then midway through that next year, I'm still studying. And then, so yeah, midway through that next year, then the office manager leaves. Okay. Then I practically fill his role as well. So I'm doing what he used to do.
So instead of hiring a new one?
Instead of hiring a new one. Chris is like, yeah, you can do this.
Yeah, your dad's getting a good deal out of this contract.
Well, and this is why I was slightly pissed off at him. I'm like, why did you not support me? Like, you're the dad. Like, I wasn't meant to make that decision. Anyway. So
you've been there before, though.
I know. But anyways, but prior to even that manager coming on, like I'm coming up with new business ideas. So like, there's like some products that we could be recommending to get some other corner of the market. I'm introducing that. Mind you, I've got 1.5 years experience. These people have 30, 35, 20 years experience. So least experienced people actually delivering the business value, like in terms of deliverables. It's great. It's not huge value by any means, but still. And then like along with the efficiency side, not only have I got this program, but I'm starting to introduce other programs like a Scribe, which is an automatic or like an AI system that records your screen as you're making or doing things, and it creates a manual. So like you can give that manual to other people so that they can do the job. And I've done that out of necessity because I didn't have the time to teach and train the overseas staff anymore. But I have the time to do the job, record it, fix it, and then give it to them. And then that also increases the business value because once you externalize the knowledge, then you're building the foundation, right?
It's hot cross burgers again.
Yeah, hot cross. I'm back at hot cross bun burgers or whatever's, right? So we're doing that. And then so I'm doing that, finished the degree finally, and then now this start of this year became an advisor. So I was advising. September last year, Chris also buys a business, right? So I'm helping the merger of that fucking business, which is a bit of a smaller business than ours. It's about, I think, a fourth of the size, but still decent, right? So I'm helping the merger of that business, teaching and training the new staff that come along. I've taught and trained multiple staff along the way now. The team's grown from like 6 people, 8 people to like 14 at this rate. And so we've done all that. And then we're merging that business, and then I go on my holiday, which is fantastic, month and a half to Thingo, come back into a wall of work because we introduced a new booking system and people have taken to it like a duck like water and everyone's booked out completely. So there's so much work to get through, and the new staff members that came along with the book, like really competent, has 17 years experience of administration, but like still learning our systems, still learning how to be decisive, all that kind of stuff. So I'm helping with all that. Also becoming an advisor myself. So then I have to take my time to do appointments and leave file notes and all that kind of stuff. And when I did that, I also got the most inexperienced people in the business to be under me. So by all this time, like I've accumulated all of these hats, like all of this work.
A tower of hats.
A tower of hats.
Like in the Guatemalan shop.
Like,
this hat
yeah, huge hat. And every time that I got down throughout that time, because all growth is uncomfortable, right? You're going to get uncomfortable, then you grow and expand, then you feel good again. I've just been continually doing that, like not even feeling good again. Grow, boom, grow, boom, grow. And every time I got into those low points, I'd like catch myself in thought, be like, because I would be like, fuck this, and I can't believe Chris has done that, and like the manager did this, and I catch myself and thought like, no, there's 3 ways you can grow. You can either grow your person, the people around you, or the processes. It's how you build. If you're going to think logically, out of these 3 things, what can you do so you can move further? Look at the business holistically. So about, okay, let's introduce this system, or I need to teach these people these things, and then they can take that off my plate, or I can, as a person, I can just meditate a bit more, or hence meditation, right? Or there's more to meditation. Meditation started a lot earlier when I was fucking mentally whatever. So that all happens, and then this year, so I'm carrying all these hats, and now we're buying another business, so we've just bought a financial planning division of a fucking bank. Like, it is huge. It is double the size of our own business. And I'm like, holy shit, there is so much things to do. I'm now managing another merger. I'm managing another merger while managing the previous merger still.
Bigger than the
8 times bigger than the previous one. Plus, we're like, I'm also doing all these, like, I'm managing compliance at this point now. Like, my dad's doing some things wrong. And I'm like, dude, you can't say this. Like, this is not right. You have to do this by the book. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, so I'm checking in on you, right? Making sure that I'm changing organizational structures or leading that change. And I just capitulate. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot do this.
And this was a few weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That I've fully run out. I mean, we're currently in the midst of hiring like 12 new staff across the business, because we bought this business and then some of the staff members just didn't want to come because they didn't want to work at the office at all. Not even like part, just no. And they're just such bank people. It's like, yuck, you're not going to fit here anyways. But I'm just so not ready, or like I'm trying my absolute best.
Do you want to be, like, you can say I'm not ready, but no one's ever ready for anything. They just, it happens and they become that person, or they completely don't. Do you want to become ready?
I mean, I don't know. I just want a bit of peace. I'm a really simple human at the end of the day. There was a time in my life where I was going to give up everything to just be a pastor and be some poor bloke. Like, it's not my, you know. And recently I've finally gotten to that burnout stage again. And
you probably don't want to have to sacrifice, you know, maybe your relationship with this business or your relationship with your dad, like you had to spirituality and God.
I mean, it's just so hard because, like, imagine I quit, like, what that would do to my dad. Again, I don't want to hurt him, you know, just like I didn't want to hurt God, you know, because, again, I'm a pretty, like, mushy love guy. Like, I want to love them, you know. So it's this point where I've self-sacrificed nearly everything.
So what?
Well, not nearly everything. That's so dramatic. Like, a large portion of me. But I realised, which is the key thing, because I've been through it before. And I was like, whoop, no. And I was like, I sat in that way. This is not happening. Like, there is 0 chance in hell I'm going back there. Because I just felt it for like a day. I took a day off work. I was like, nah. And we're in the middle of the biggest merger ever. I'm like, not my fault. Go hire people. Like, this is outrageous. And my question, what I'm questioning myself now, is this where I'm meant to be? Is this what I'm meant to be doing? Am I going down the same path? It's interesting how all the signs I feel are kind of leading me towards this. But there's quite also a clear sign to me saying that I need to be still. I need to be calm, you know? And I've always said, even when I was going through that whole breakup thing, that one day I envision myself as being the leader of many people, but I envision, as the way that I do that is more like the father that I always wanted. Not that my dad's not, or that he wasn't. It's more that I want to give the person shade from the fucking pain that I went through. Like, I want to find people find rest in me. But if I'm not resting myself, I can't give people shade. So what I see in this story is that I need to be more calm and I need to be still, and I'm not still. And that's what meditation plays for me, is my still moments. So I kind of question myself, can I do this fucking high-performing finance job with ridiculous hours and be still? Is that possible?
Looking forward to part 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good way to
Wrap that up. How are you going?
Yeah, we can turn this off and then, yeah.
Chat.
Fuck, that's so good.
Yeah, not bad.
What are the post-pod thoughts? What are you diving into? New chapters.
Well, it's called water baptism, right? Is that
Sure.
looks like a good spot to dive.
It is. Epic.